Welcome to Blue Collar Mystics, the under-the-hood approach to the depths of human consciousness. So many mysteries, so little time, so many big words. That's why we aim to take the mystical and make it practical, usable in your everyday life. And we want to hear from you. We want to hear your story. What happened when you started asking yourself the real questions? Like, who am I? What is this? Is it a hologram? Is this some kind of weird cosmic joke? Hey, these are the questions that we are trying to get to the bottom of as we explore the final rabbit hole together here as Blue Collar Mystics. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the stream. We are live on YouTube and on Rockfin and in the private Facebook group. What's up, Wendy Olson? Good to see you. CK, what's cracking? Godpill Angel, the lovely and daring and bold. What's up? I'm here with, of course, Abbie Johnson. Show us those rockin' tats.
Oh,
Abbie.
Yeah. My temporary tattoos.
I'm gonna have to get some. Yeah, I was just talking about changing my look a little bit, but I want a chameleon. I don't want to commit. I don't like commitment. I'm not a fan.
Well, these are great. I mean, they go hard. They're big and they,
I feel like I'm hairy enough. You couldn't really tell. My arms are so hairy.
No, you can't with the temporary tattoos. It'll like mat your hair down. You'd have to shave your arm.
Oh no, it's fun. Yeah. Well, we're gonna be talking about one of the probably the most critical chapter in this book. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I'm reading this thing and I'm like, this is kind of soul crushing. Like any starseed is going to be like, no, this is not the gospel. I don't like this. But I feel like if we can understand the principles he's talking about in this particular book, it's really the other side of the coin to the law of attraction and a very idealistic outlook, which I won't say I'm even recovering. I still think I am an idealist. Changing the world is pretty futile, to be honest. It's like I was just looking up a quote that I remember from Emerson's Self-Reliance, and it's about how infancy conforms to nobody, all conform to it. That one babe commonly makes 4 or 5 out of the adults who prattle and play to it. As an example of there just being no escape from reality. Like you either conform to the rules and play the game, or you fight against it and sabotage yourself. And I think that's really what this chapter highlights a lot. I don't know. Maybe I'm moody. I'm a moody person, so maybe I'm just in a mood today, But I love this chapter. It's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow, but I think it's really powerful and impactful as well.
Yeah, I think it was hard for me to swallow at first too, because we're taught so much that we're supposed to find certain things important, your country, your school, your school rivalries, your political party, and your homeowners association. All these little things are all important, your job. And you're like, it's supposed to be important to me. It's supposed to be important to me. Like that's, I feel like that's drilled into our heads, how important we're supposed to make things. And the idea that by doing that, you're ruining your own life. It seems like, I guess that was kind of a tough pill to swallow, but when I decided to accept it and just kind of adopt that as my paradigm, I did see how always stood in my own way.
Yeah, it's pretty confronting, or it has been for me, right? Like I think other people probably it's not it's not as impactful, but the idea of like Sod's law, they call it in Britain, or that you always get what you don't want, here's how what do they call it in the States? It's oh, there's a name for it. It's named after some dude who's like
Like Murphy's Law, whatever
Murphy's Law.
can't
Yeah,
go
yeah,
wrong
yeah,
will.
yeah. Exactly. Murphy's Law. And so you see evidence for that, and you're just like, yeah, I see that all the time. But he explains in this chapter really a big reason why, or a lot of reasons why. It mostly comes down to one thing, which is importance. And this is the chapter that he talks about your inner guardian as well. And so we can start to tweak our self, how we're interacting with reality and what our results are with some of the ideas that are in this particular chapter. It's like a understanding understanding the pendulums and the balance to the to the guillotine. But I'm being dramatic a little bit, but at the same time, like I said, as someone who's an idealist and like a romantic, I grew up watching Disney movies, the happy ending, the good guy always wins, but then you get out into the world and that's not the reflection. It's not that good. It's not that good can't win, or like there's no value in being like a solid person or like having good values. Really, it's about you.
And the good people don't always get ahead. You see that in life all the time. You see that the people who are, I mean, the leaders of all the Fortune 500 companies are allegedly NSPs, narcissists, psychopaths, sociopaths. And why are they getting ahead? Why are they that run the world there?
Right. Right.
I think it's because they understand these principles very well.
Well, intuitively, they don't have any guilt. That's a
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
reason why. So guilt is a huge issue within this book. So it's like he talks a lot about how that is any overvaluation of anything. Everything is just as it is, right? In nature, the cheetah eats the gazelle. He doesn't feel bad about it. It's not, there's no consequence emotionally. He doesn't put the, you know, I don't know, the elk on a pedestal and think that that's a better meal. There's none of that. It doesn't stop them. It doesn't hurt. Yeah. Like Wendy said in the chat, the guilt doesn't hinder them. The psychopaths and sociopaths who are at the top, they don't feel bad, but a lot of people do. And I think we're even largely trained to, right? Like, it's like the more that human beings in society can feel guilty. And now this doesn't justify doing horrible things. It's not an excuse to commit atrocities or behave badly or take anyone's autonomy away from somebody else. You know what I'm saying? It's like we naturally feel guilt for a reason. It's not bad that we feel guilty to like take something from someone to steal their property. That's a good thing.
That
That
means you're
keeps
a
us from
psychopath
doing
or a
it.
sociopath. Yeah.
But
Can we read this first paragraph just to kind of give a overview of what we're talking about?
yeah, can you try to synopsize it a little bit?
Yeah. So everything in nature is like, this is just the fundamental law. This is the law.
Right.
Everything in nature is trying to balance itself. So when the air temperature changes, the wind balances it out. Um, Differences in temperature are compensated by thermal exchange. Wherever there is excess potential in any energy form, balance forces emerge to fix the imbalance. So you see it everywhere. If you look at nature, it's just nature is just always trying to balance itself, good or bad. So if there's something excessive in one way or another, then there is going to be a balance because it's energetic. It's not just, well, it's all energy.
100%. Yeah. And so the energy that we put in place on the things in our reality, as human beings, it varies. Like we might value a certain object or circumstance or what have you much, much higher than something else. And that differential, really, there's no difference, right? Like in reality, everything's the same. We're all the same. We're all of equal value. But we put a ton of our own value and projected importance onto a certain thing or circumstance or whatever. And that actually makes it much more difficult to attain, and it pushes us away. So the things that we want are often taken away from us by balanced forces because our over desire for it. And he does talk about there's 3 different types of desires in in this chapter, and idealization or just desire, like wanting or pining for something. You'll never get it because you don't believe you could actually have it. The best type of desire is intention. That's creating. That's just actually actively doing whatever it takes to go and get whatever it is that you want. His analogy is it's as easy as going to the letterbox to get the mail. And so that's really the only one that's effective. The other types of desire are really just fantasy and daydreaming.
Yeah, inactive, and then there's just placing so much importance on it. Like, I have to have it. I want it so bad. And you can strive for it, but with the desire too intense, you create this excess potential, and all excess potential has to be balanced by nature, by the nature of nature. So your desire
Exactly.
is an energetic thing. It's put out into the quantum field, and it resonates there. So depending on how you shape that desire, if you make it an intention and you just do the first step and you just know it's going to be done, you're not creating excess potential. But just sitting there going, I want it really bad, and doing nothing, that's the second type. It's just inactive, and you're never going to get it. You're never going to win the lottery by sitting on your couch and not going and buying a lottery ticket.
Right.
And you're never going to, if you sit there and decide you want something really, really bad and work really, really hard for it, all you're doing is creating a situation where you still are desiring it, and you're pushing it away from you.
Right. Which is the most frustrating and maddening. And I think that's the most evident to see in like in a crush, like a desire for a relationship with somebody. When you idealize someone, put them in a position on a pedestal above you, and basically make yourself subservient to that. And yeah, it's just heart-wrenching to watch. But a lot of this comes from judgment. And so one thing that's clearly fleshed out in the book, or in this particular chapter, is the idea of judgment. It's all based on contradistinction or comparison. So it's one thing to call a spade and say, hey, this is that, you did X, Y, and Z, and that's not, we don't appreciate that. That's not our policy. We don't do that, whatever. It doesn't matter. You could say like someone is a promiscuous person, or someone is a daredevil, or someone is a adventurer or whatever. And that is an assessment of who that person is. But to say that person's an adventurer, they're crazy, I'm better than them, I'm saying I stay home, that is a comparison. That's a judgment, and that creates excess potential, which will eventually turn into balancing forces. So
Because ultimately they're all pendulums. So when you swing a pendulum one way, to balance it, it swings the opposite way, right? So whatever you want, or whatever you think, like, I'm so much better than, nature's going to knock you on your ass and show you that you're not. Period.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is good. And we will talk more about this later. Is there a power behind the daydream, though? Can it manifest your desire? And ultimately, when we get to the chapter in slides, which is really about visualization and using imagination to accomplish your goal, like he talks a lot about that particular thing and how to use daydreams in a positive way, because you can use them. There's two different ways. It's like we can daydream and basically
use it to escape reality, which is what I was so guilty of for so long. So when I learned about that, it was like, oh my gosh, what was I doing?
Right. And then you can use it to put yourself in a position to feel comfortable and at ease with the thing that you desire. And so that's ideally what you would like to do to use the daydream for.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's just a knowing. It's a knowing that it's yours if you want it.
Allowing yourself to have is kind of what he's talking about in there. And then Wendy says, thinking if this thing I want isn't for me, then something better must be on the way, has worked for her to drop importance. And so reducing importance is definitely something that he talks about in this chapter. Importance is often the thing that creates excess potential, which cues balanced forces to make things even, and because they already are. And our evaluation of something creates a distortion in the balance. That's what's really happening. Everything is zero. Unconditional love is just zero. It's very cold.
Yeah.
It's very just
Yeah.
flatline.
It's not trying to change you. It's not trying to possess you. It's literally just like, I accept you as you are, period. And that's a very rare thing.
Exactly. And that's such a beautiful thing too. I love the example that he uses in the book about seeing a flower in the field, and when we see that flower in the field, we can see it and be like, wow, it's beautiful. We can smell its aroma, appreciate it in its habitat. And then we go out and often try to possess it. And so unconditional love versus conditional love, this brings us back to the idea of judgment and conditionality and contradistinction and comparison. It's like, well, if you won't do this for me, then then you don't love me. If you won't marry me, then you don't love me. If you don't, whatever, fill in the blank, right? Like all those things are conditional, and conditionality is what creates balancing forces and importance as well. But unconditional love itself is just admiring that flower in the field for what it is and being like, this is a beautiful wildflower. I'm going to sniff it. I'm going to take a picture with it or whatever, and appreciate it. But as soon as you snatch that flower out and put it in a vase and bring it in your house, you just watch it die. That's it. That's all there is left to do. You've taken all of its magical power away by trying to possess it instead of allowing it to be just as it is and admiring it in its own beauty, for what it is.
Yeah, I think that was one of the hardest lessons for me to learn, because I think most people confuse love and possession.
Yeah, it's very easy
It's the easy thing to do, because anything that you really admire like that, you want it to be yours. So
right. Yeah, exactly. But you can't possess anyone else or really anything else, right?
yeah,
That's not
yeah,
possible. But what he says is that if you do display unconditional love for that person or that pet or whatever, like it's basically impossible to deny. You know what I mean? Like that unconditional love itself is so rare that it's undeniable, right? Like, and you just say, look, I just love you. I think you're amazing. That's it. You can leave, you can not leave, you can get a tattoo, you can not get a tattoo, you can do whatever, fill in the blank, and it doesn't matter. Like that is really the natural state of nature, that zero. And then whenever we emphasize things, compare and contrast things and contradistinct, we're placing emphasis on stuff and creating a distortion in reality. When I say I want this thing and I'm willing to risk all the other things, and he's talking about putting things in a dish and how you would like put one thing on the scale on this side and be like, I'm putting it all on black. Well, you're going to lose that hand. You know what I mean? Like it's over, dude. But it's because you're like, you're again comparing and placing one thing on another and saying, let's double down on this. I'm willing to risk. And then all of a sudden you've put yourself in a very precarious position, and balanced forces. They're not a respecter of you, what's good, what's bad. It doesn't matter. That's not
Yeah,
relevant.
good and bad deeds are all equivalent, and they all require balance. So if you are like, I'm so proud of myself, I did this, you're going to get the opposite. Instead of a reward, you're going to get the opposite. And if you're feeling super guilty about something, like, oh, I can't believe I did this, you're going to get punished because you feel guilty. It's got to be balanced.
Right.
So it's they both are excessive one way or the other. So really this neutral state is, it seems like so cold and unfeeling almost, but once you kind of adopt it, you see that it's definitely not cold and unfeeling. It's just that the more that you try to grasp at something, the more you push it away from you. So you know that you just have to appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah, it has a lot of commonality in a lot of the Eastern religions, just allowing things to be exactly as they are and not trying to not trying to possess anything or anyone, right? Allowing it to just be, because that valuation, whether we have contempt for something and judge it harshly, or we put it on a pedestal and think that it's better than us, either way, we are creating a distortion in reality that is unnatural, right? Like back to the idea of the cheetah, it doesn't compare this to that, and it just does what it does. That's it. It eats the gazelle, and it's not like, well, this gazelle is a baby and this other gazelle is an adult. It's, so I'm going to get the adult gazelle because it's had a longer life. It doesn't matter. It's like, this one was the weak one. I could get it. I got it. It's mine now. That's
I got
all it does.
lunch.
Yeah, lunch is served. That's it. It does seem cold. This is the most Russian chapter of this book, right?
It is, but then again, he talks about being impeccable, so it's all back down to the Toltec of it all, because he's using actual Castaneda terms here, Don Juan terms.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. I remember you saying that the Toltec is not regional.
No,
so
it's not limited to an area. Like everybody thinks was somewhere in South America, but really it was a people, and they're all over the world. One thing he talks about is like the dependent relationship. So if then, like if I get this job, then I'm going to be respected. If any kind of if then statement that you're going to make it's a dependent relationship. So like you're going to be successful when, if I do this, if I do that, and those are that's excess potential too. So instead, it's like you really should kind of focus on the things that you admire in people or what you want to be, and strive to just be that, instead of focusing on, well, I'm going to be happy when, and if you can do that, then that's your payment for balancing forces. So you can actually pay it forward by just getting rid of the dependent relationship. Like, don't put a, when this happens, I will be happy. When this happens, I'm going to feel fulfilled. When this happens, I'll be successful. If you can just get rid of that importance and the if then statement of it all, then that is payment for the balancing forces, and then you pull it right to you.
Yeah, another thing he talks about, and this is something I used to really struggle with, is like just beating yourself up, seeing your own sort of flaws as a problem. And when you're doing that, then you're definitely keeping yourself from what you deserve, right? Like we all deserve the best. We all deserve what it is that we came here into the world for. And as we like see these inadequacies in ourselves, the more that we sort of focus on those and and have these like compulsions about it and beat ourselves up for it, we're creating excess potential within ourselves and putting ourselves down. And so we can put other people up, and we can also put ourselves down. Those are two different ways that we can create distortions in the balance.
So the more you try to mask your flaw, because I guarantee every one of you has more good in you than flaws, but the more you fixate on your one flaw and try to hide it and try to mask it, the more evident it becomes, or you look like the opposite and totally obnoxious in another way. So
You
balancing forces will
overcompensate.
do it too. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the person who's trying to, and that's the problem too. In a lot of ways, it's like if you discover this, then it's the tendency is to kind of overswing to correct, right? Like to swing
Yeah. Like,
over
I
to
see
the
this with
extreme.
autism, like, my son has a high functioning autism, so, he doesn't make eye contact, so when I would tell him to make eye contact, he would actually do it, like, disturbingly so. So then he was trying to do that more often, and it just kinda backfired. It's, like, better for him to kinda look around when he's talking than to sit and, like, make this awkward eye contact with you. So but you see it
100%.
in everyone, trying to hide your flaws is actually like, if you just go ahead and be authentic and be who you are, people are not even looking at your flaws. They're looking at all the good things about you.
Yeah, embrace those. Yeah, that's really what it's going to come down to in this whole book, right? Is to embrace those quirks about you. Those are what make you unique. And one thing he says in this chapter is he talks about shyness and how if you are shy, then you should hold on to that quality very tightly because it allows you the opportunity to listen and to hear and to actually be there for people. And that is one of the most valuable gifts that you can give to someone is to sit down and actually listen to what they have to say instead of thinking about what you're going to say next in the middle of their sentence, right? Like you can actually hear them and then ask questions, be an active listener. Oh, really? So what made you want to do that? Or like fill in the next question to really try to understand the person. One of the 7 habits of highly effective people is like one of the, I think it might be 6 or 7, but it's like seek first to understand, then to be understood,
Yep.
So like any of those weird quirks and what you might perceive as in yourself as a flaw, it might actually become a feature. It can be a feature if you know how to manage it.
And that's what, I've talked in the past weeks about celebrities and their one little flaw with their image, with the way that they look. And it usually is a feature of them. And if they would change, they just wouldn't be the same. Even though it's just a physical feature like a crooked tooth or a big nose.
Yeah, I mean those can be very charming ultimately, right? Like but if you're insecure about it, then it becomes unattractive because of your insecurity, not even because of the thing itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so one of the things he talks about is self-importance and stuff, because self-importance is also something that has to be balanced because it's excess potential. Like, so if you think so highly of yourself and, put yourself up on a pedestal, um, you are, I mean, we all know self-important people are assholes.
Oh yeah.
We all feel that.
I tried to watch the Dali movie that because I was like, oh, cool. There's a movie about Salvador Dali, and it just came out, but I couldn't even get like a minute in just because Ben Kingsley was playing Salvador Dali, and I was like, I could not be even around this guy if this is actually how he was. Like, there's no fucking way. Like, this guy is insufferable, and he's just surrounded by yes men. And I'm like,
Ugh.
I couldn't do it. I don't care how talented you are, dude. Like, ugh. And I love Dali. Like he's an incredible painter.
It's
But
just very cringy though.
it's just the worst. Yeah. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that because that's a really good distinction. So we're talking a lot about importance. We framed the episode up. Thank you for doing that. And really the biggest sort of things that are going to create balancing forces to kind of, level the playing field is going to be importance, but there's 2 types. There's inner importance, which you're just talking a little bit about, and outer importance. So maybe we can talk a little bit about both of those and what the difference between those 2 are.
Okay. So obviously inner importance would be self-importance, right? Is that how you would define it?
I mean, yeah, that's definitely, yeah, absolutely.
It's, thinking not necessarily it's okay to think highly of yourself. You should. You should like who you are. I absolutely think that that's important. But when I'm comparing myself to others and I'm always like, I'm prettier, I'm whatever. I'm gonna be shown to not be that thing. And it's funny because I've done this a lot. Like, not that I'm cocky, it's just that, we all get cocky about one thing or another, and it always backfires. So what he says is that you should switch your intention from your self-importance, from the qualities of self-importance, to just developing the qualities that you admire. Instead of making yourself super important, why don't you just make yourself into something better? I mean, that's the way I take it. I take it as you always have room for improvement. You always have room for growth, and you should always strive for growth.
And he is talking about in this chapter taking that energy and placing it into self-development, as opposed to self-criticism or comparison with others and judgment. Don't contribute to those things. Instead, take that energy and invest it in yourself in a way that's healthy, whatever that might look like for you. 100%.
Yeah. Okay. So you want to talk about outer?
Sure. So outer importance is whenever something that you desire, like maybe a relationship or a job or like a talent or a big show or something, is like really a big deal and you're making a huge deal about it. One really good way to think about outer importance is the idea of stage fright. If you've ever gone on stage or have to give a public speech or something like that, which is apparently most people's biggest fear. Most people would rather die. Most people are less afraid of death than public speaking, which is hilarious. For me, it's taxes, but whatever. It's the more you put importance on that performance, the more you put importance on that job, the more emphasis that you place on whatever that circumstance is, the more difficult you're making it. So this comes back to that idea of daydreaming. There's a couple of different ways to think about this. It's like the more you think about that performance and focus on it and think about it and consume yourself with it, like the more that when you go on stage, you're going to feel more nervous because you've thought about it so much. You've put so much importance on it that it's actually going to actively create nerves, and your nervous system is going to go haywire when you get up there, as opposed to somebody who's like just was waiting in the wings and they're like, hey, can you come out here and talk to these people? And they don't have anything prepared. Like they have no idea what they're doing. They just walk out and then they just start talking. And then it's like, that was actually pretty good, And then there may be someone who's a speaker who gets so nervous, they have their whole thing memorized. They've thought about it over and over, every little detail, every little perfect nuance that they were going to say on stage. And then they get out there and they completely muff it up. And then they get even more frustrated. And this one little thing goes haywire and bad. And then they just unravel on stage, right? Like the more that you think about it and, obsess about something, obviously, right? Like that date, you're like, oh God, if this date doesn't go well, then, oh my God, my whole life is ruined because this date. And it's like, well, maybe you should just like not put so much emphasis on it. Just go out and enjoy being with the person, actually just chill and listen to what they have to say or something. And then it might go a lot better than getting in your head about it. Anything you get in your head about is kind of an external importance sort of trigger. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. But anything, it's like, well, so that back to conditionality. It's like, I've got to prove to the world, I've got to show everybody that I'm the best dancer. And if I can't show everybody that I'm the best dancer, then I just want to die, right? Like I'm being very hyperbolic right now, but to emphasize the point,
my life's gonna be over.
Yeah, exactly. Like if he doesn't like me back, I swear it's over, like, or whatever, like put it in. And so any of those type of, especially the conditionality statements, like that is external or outer importance, and placing something on a pedestal that is outside of you. So it has nothing to do really. It has less to do with your self-worth and more to do with something out here,
Yeah. Perfect. Good synopsis.
That was a long synopsis, but
But it's all warranted because this is literally the most important thing that anyone can learn. I mean, even if you didn't want to read the rest of the book, if you just adopt this mindset and these philosophies, it will do so much to just change everything in your life. Because if you look at it like that and you see, I mean, just think of everything that you held in, like, for example, my last marriage, I adored my husband. I loved him. I put him on my pedestal. He was everything to me. He was my whole world. Well, when I read this chapter, I was like, I just remember going, oh, okay, I get it now. Like, there was no chance for that to not be balanced, So, and you see it, if you apply it to hindsight in your life, everywhere where things didn't work out the way you wanted because it was so important to you, you start to see how you were the problem. You didn't know it. You didn't know any better. But now that you know better, what can you do moving forward?
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he says at the beginning of the chapter, he's talking about without balance, we would just be in like some weird congealed, like gooey state with no boundaries, right? Like balance is what gives us form. Balance is what distinguishes objects from other objects in material reality. Like we got to have this thing. It's like this thing, like nobody can say what gravity is, but without gravity, like we wouldn't be here. You know what I mean? Like that's what we're dealing with. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about this force of balance. It is ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It's impossible to ignore. And it's not just a physical law. It's also a spiritual law. It's a natural, real thing. And so when we start to understand how we're communicating with the universe, like one way I like to think about it is like our desire and the way that we feel inside is like an emotional weather system. So it's like putting some big thing on a pedestal and generating all this importance and excitement about it and doing all of those things. Well, you're just creating a rain cloud of disappointment with all of that excess potential. That excess potential has to become balanced forces, right? Like it can only be sunny for so many days, and then the rain has to come and water the grass. Like that's just how it is. So emotionally, we're having the same type of experience individually, one-on-one with the universe that we're seeing in physical reality. And so this chapter is really powerful. And it's, like I said earlier, it's the other side of the law of attraction, right? It's not just the law of attraction. It's the law of attraction and repulsion, because you can do either with the same concepts. Like they tell you in that movie, The Secret, they're like, just sit on your couch and daydream and you'll get a check in the mail, Publishers Clearinghouse, and it's like, no.
But don't you feel like they make you feel like you have to make it really important though? I feel like that's what's so wrong with it. It's like, that's why law of attraction doesn't work. It works against you if you sit there and make it so important, because it's different than just choosing. Like that ultimately what you could call transurfing is choosing, because it's giving you the empowerment to make choices and realize that you have a choice always. You're not subject to, all the bullshit. You attract the bullshit and you can get rid of the bullshit. You really just have to choose that it's going to be better and then watch it happen without getting in your way, without making it too important. I'm going to get a better job, period. And then watch it happen. But don't be like, if I don't get a better job, then my life's going to,
right.
I'm going to lose my house, whatever. If you do that, you're not going to do it. You're not going to get it. It's not going to work out the way you want it to. But if you choose and then and then you walk into that, knowing, go apply for the jobs and get it. Watch yourself get it.
And then celebrate anything that goes according to the however it goes. If it doesn't go according to the script in your mind that you have so perfectly plotted out, then you celebrate the deviations, and then you still get to the end if you remain unattached to those scenarios, right?
That's Laura in the chat said, what are some ways to manage excitement enough to maintain passion purpose, but not place too much importance? So that's a really good question. But what I found, and I think what he talks about later in the book, is you can be excited about something. That's okay. But to be like, I'm so excited. Like the weather is going to be so great. I can't wait to go to Florida because it's going to be so nice. You know, it's like, I can't wait to get away from winter. That's, you know, you created excess potential. And so that's when you're going to show up and there's going to be hurricane weather.
Right.
So it's okay to be excited. But what I find is I might express my excitement, but I don't try to make it sound like, I try to sober myself a little bit. Like, okay, it's going to be good because that's what I'm choosing. It's going to be good. Right. But I don't have to get overly excited because I'm not going to be tied to the outcome. I'm going to enjoy it, whether it's bad weather or good weather. It's going to be what it is. It's going to be an experience. And I don't know, just about balance excitement. What do you?
So he says to put a safety net. He says never put all your eggs in one basket, right? So there's a couple different ways to kind of manage those expectations. You know, the safety net is one. So the example that he uses is if I placed a 2x4 on the ground and said, walk across this, then you would just hop right on that 2x4. It'd be the easiest thing ever. You'd walk right across it. But if you take that same 2x4 and you put it across 2 skyscrapers and I said, walk across it, it's a little bit different. You know what I'm saying? You've got forces on each side that are pulling you down at that point, right? Like you're on a precipice. Now, but if there's a safety net at the bottom, then you're like, oh, okay, well, that definitely reduces the stress level of walking across that because, you know, if you fall, there's a safety net. It's not so scary now. And so that's what he talks about as far as like the smartest way to reduce importance. I would say like expect the best, but be prepared for things to go completely sideways. You know, for me, when I'm performing, like what I try to do is I try to prepare as best I possibly can. And then when the time comes to go out, I'm not like, all right, I'm going to stick to the script and make sure I do everything perfect like a robot. I'm like, I'm just going to try to have fun, you know? And so all those things are supposed to be embedded in me, right? Like when we talk about public speaking and stuff, they say, don't memorize, internalize. If I'm going to tell a story and then I'm trying to memorize every single word of it, and then I screw up on one word, it totally throws me off and I can't remember the rest of the story. But if I know the story by heart, then I can tell it in 3 or 4 different ways and still get the same effect out of the story, if that makes sense. So it's not about memorization.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is prepare very well, but then also be open to the moment and any deviations that may happen. Someone might shout something out from the crowd. Someone might drop a plate or a glass and it break in the audience. And it's weird if you don't acknowledge that. You know what I mean? It's like, that's weird. Like, why wouldn't you stop and acknowledge that? You know what I mean? Like, you're not being present. So it's kind of it's a balance of like presence and preparation when it comes to that. But what he does say is to always have a backup plan, always have a plan B, and that will help you manage your expectations for whatever it is that you're doing. So that can be done in a lot of different ways.
Well, another way too is to imagine so you don't want to spend a lot of time imagining the most negative stuff, you know, because you want to visualize the good things happening, but make peace with the worst case scenario. So go ahead and be excited or whatever, passionate, but let yourself think about like, what if this doesn't work? What if, you know, what if things go to shit? Like imagine the worst case scenario for a second. Don't dwell on it and just like, okay, well, if that happens, what am I going to do? And then you realize no matter what, you're going to be okay. And then you're like, okay, well, now I'm choosing the better timeline. Like I'm going to allow this to happen. I'm choosing the better thing to happen. And it definitely gets rid of the excess potential.
Yeah, I think it's in chapter 8, which we will talk about here soon in a couple episodes. But he talks about slides and visualization. And that is one thing that he says to do to reduce importance is to visualize failure once. He says only do it one time. Don't do it more than once. Don't obsess about that, but just so that you can kind of clear that angst and excess energy out of you, you can think about that one time and then, continue to focus on, the best results. We always want to focus on what is best. And, one of the habits that I've been working on, like I'm talking about all this stuff, and it's funny because I talked about this stuff as soon as I read the book. I was like, oh, I guess I'll make videos because nobody's really doing that yet. And so I made a bunch of videos, and what I'm talking about in the videos is true, but I don't know how to do it yet, And I'm so like, for the past years, I've been failing a lot and trying these principles and getting some down, and then others I'm learning. So like right now, one of the things that I'm trying to put into my as a habit is celebrating when things don't go my way, right? Like, yay, this didn't go my way. Hooray, I took the wrong turn out of the gym. Well, who says it's the wrong turn?
Because there's no failure, there's only feedback. And if you
Right.
adopt that motto too, I think that's a good way to look at things. There is no failure. It's
Yeah.
feedback.
Well,
It's your the thing you had to learn to try again.
Right. Yeah. And we're just going to get a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, progressively better and better and better. And I mean, even Napoleon Hill talks about having a burning desire. I'll come back to this, but like one of the things I used to do, and this was like largely from my grandparents and stuff. Like you drop a wrench, you're like, damn, or like you drop it's like, but why? You just dropped the thing, just pick it up. You know what I mean? Like, so I've gotten better at not reacting negatively with dissatisfaction when something happens out of my control, but reacting joyously to those things that happen out of your control. That's a whole kind of new thing. Now, with the types of desire, Napoleon Hill talks about having a burning desire. And if you do have a burning desire and you take action, then that action can burn off the excess potential over time. So what winds up happening is you could, like we were talking about, you could lay on the couch and daydream, like The Secret says, or whatever, and then just daydream all the time and fantasize about something. And then you're never going to get that thing. It's never going to happen. But if you want it and you actually take action, the more steps you take, every step you take toward that will burn off some of that excess potential. So you continue to move forward. And ultimately that desire turns into intention through the determination to have an act, which is intention. So.
Yeah. I mean, always.
Advantage,
that silver thread.
Advantage. Oh, y'all have such a romance. It's so cute.
I did this one. I was like, wait, I better do it more like.
Yes, 100%. All the past relationships we've felt sad about, looking back, how grateful I am that they didn't work.
Yeah, you're like, thank God that didn't work out.
God, she cheated on me,
I didn't feel that way at the time, but man, everything that happened in my life is because they did that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I really want to send Christmas cards, but I feel like that would just be kind of passive aggressive and rude,
How funny would that be? You'd be like, thank you so much for fucking up my life.
Thank you for this.
You made it so much better.
Thank you for breaking my heart. I really needed that. I really, really appreciate it. Well, in the moment, it's not what you want. And so it's easy to kind of be dissatisfied, disappointed,
It's hard to see the advantage in the silver thread, but it's surely there.
It definitely is. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah.
So I think we should get into guilt a little bit more though, because that is like, you have your own guilt and then you have the guilt that other people put on you and tell you what you should feel all the time, and how, it's manipulation, but it is one of the biggest causes of excess potential. And just like we were saying with CEOs and stuff of companies, they don't have a lot of guilt because they're usually like psychopaths and sociopaths. And we're not telling you to be that. But, the more that you feel guilty and like, this is what I started noticing after reading this book sitting in church. And it, I hate to say that it was part of the reason why I didn't like to go to church anymore, was that people sit and, oh my gosh, I'm getting a hamstring cramp.
Oh my God.
I'm trying not to say bad words right now.
You're doing really good. I hate those.
I did on Secret Society of Good Guys. It was
Oh, man.
bad.
I get the calf cramp sometimes in the
Um,
middle of the night and wake up and they hurt so bad.
I did hamstrings last night and then I just donated blood, so I'm sure I'm a little dehydrated. So,
oof. Yeah.
mm,
You were just saying that when you're in church, you're like, this is why I didn't want to go to church.
Yeah, sitting in church, like, you start realizing how these people, like, I love them all. I love the people that went to my church and everything, but I started listening to them, and it's like, you're asking for forgiveness for sin, which is good. If you feel guilty about something and you feel like you've sinned, then you should definitely ask for forgiveness. But in my head, it's like, once you've asked God to forgive yourself, you better have already forgiven yourself, because you can't ask God to forgive you if you don't forgive yourself. So that's if you live in God, however that works, but if you're putting yourself above God and you're still going to punish yourself, then you're going to keep getting punished for that sin. And I started noticing, though, that people in church have a tendency to blame the devil for everything, or they have just these guilty conscience, and the church makes you feel guilty, and it makes you keep beating yourself up for something. And so it's not necessarily perpetuating the release from guilt. And so there's always this excess potential there, so you're always getting punished for it. And it just felt like a lot of victimizer mentality to me.
Yeah. He talks about asking for forgiveness as well in this chapter, and how powerful and effective that is. There's a lot of people who, have had crazy lives, and really the only way that they can kind of forgive themselves is to have maybe a relationship with Jesus or God or, whatever, and then atone for it, so to speak, right? Whatever that looks like. And I think that's really good and powerful. But what largely institutions do, and what all pendulums do, is through guilt, duty, and obligation. Those are the pendulum strings. Those are the hooks. It's like, oh, well, you're not a good family member if you don't come, to this pre-Thanksgiving party or whatever. You're not a good teammate if you don't, go to the, CC's Pizza after the game or whatever, right? Like you're not a good Christian if you don't fill in the blank, right? Like so they used guilt too, largely to recruit too. Like, you're a bad person unless you accept this particular
they got me with
idea.
the 10 Commandments, they're like, yeah.
Well, he even says in the 10 Commandments aren't really about being good or bad necessarily, as much as it is really just about establishing balance and order in a society.
Yeah.
It's not really even about like, you're a terrible person if you do X, Y, or Z. It's really not that. It's just a way to keep peace and keep things in like a stasis.
You got to have some general rules, man.
Yeah, that's it. It's not even a morality thing, he says in the book, I think those are very practical guidelines to use and go by. And again, I'll say, like, I think we feel guilt for a reason. We're not trying to advocate sociopathy here, like,
No.
you feel bad when you do a stupid, shitty thing to somebody, and we all make mistakes, and that's okay. You forgive, you apologize, and you forgive yourself. Hopefully they forgive you. You can't make them forgive you, but you can ask forgiveness sincerely, and then you just let that go, but the power of guilt is, like, it keeps you from doing shit, that would make you feel guilty, right? Like, so you avoid the emotion by not doing those things, right? Like, that's the idea.
And you should avoid doing the things that would make you feel guilty. That's the solution.
100%. Yes.
You should avoid those things. If it's gonna make you feel guilty, don't do it.
That's exactly what I was trying to say.
If you can live with it, it's fine for you. But I mean, this is not it's not like you get a free pass.
Well, because you're operating within the realm of your own credo, what you think is right, what your value set is. That's what transurfing is about. It's not about what somebody else says is right or wrong. You need to comply to our standards here. And this is what makes a good cadet or whatever, right? Like, it has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with what you think is right, what you think is prudent, what you think is beneficial for you, your credo, your individual, like your heart came into this world. And, there are narcissists and sociopaths. I don't know, man. I mean, they are what they are. I'm not going to sit here and try to fight them. That's a waste of my time, and so whatever it is that I am, I need to embody that, go by what my
Authentically.
values are. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it doesn't matter what someone
Live in
else's
your
are.
authenticity.
If they don't align with mine, deuces, dude, we're out. We're not going to work together. It's fine. It's not a big deal. I'll find other people who are harmonious and I'll work with those people. And that'll be great, because we'll see things in a similar fashion. But
Yeah.
yes, 100%. That's a really, really good point. The guilt thing, the guilt hook, it is the most common. And people who are manipulators, people who are NSPs, who take advantage of people, who pimp them out, like, they're using guilt. Almost 90% of what they do is a guilt complex, because the person already has
So
an
pay attention to
inferiority.
it.
Yeah, they already have an inferiority complex, right? And so superiority,
So if somebody's
inferiority. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
no, it's okay. If somebody's trying to manipulate you with guilt, pay attention to it, because you don't have to do it. You don't have to play that game. If you were guilty of something, yeah, fess up and own it. But if you're not, you don't have to take the guilt. You don't have to take the blame. You can walk away from the situation and then they will leave you alone.
Yeah, if you're doing, this is great. Yeah, if you are doing what you believe in your heart to be the right thing, no matter what that is, everybody else can fuck right off. That's just it. Like, it's really
Fuck right
about
off.
that. Yeah, bye, peace, like, and manipulators are really good at taking people who have inferiority complexes, and their spiritual movement is full of people with inferiority complexes, frankly, and abusing the shit out of them through guilt and other forms of manipulation. But primarily it is guilt. That is the one thing to watch out for. But inferiority or superiority and inferiority, they're both out of balance. And, the pride angle too, like, you're going to see that people do get comeuppance when they get out of balance as well, because those are both distortions.
Yeah. Like, who is the athlete that was like all about not getting the jab, which was, I was behind him, but he was up there. Didn't he lick the microphone or something like that? And then he got COVID and got really sick.
I don't know who that was.
Crazy.
I don't know that story, but that's pretty funny.
But it's like, yeah, it ain't gonna happen, whatever. And then he gets really sick. I mean, who knows? That's just the narrative that they're probably pushing, but it's a good example of excess potential, the superiority of it all.
Yeah, arrogance, being confident is not the same as being arrogant. But that's pretty funny. Yeah, don't lick microphones. I strongly discourage anybody, as someone who uses a lot of microphones. No, I see the people who use them. Okay, don't lick microphones. The people who use
I licked
microphones.
mine.
Well, you're the only one who uses that one. But public microphone, don't lick microphones. That
I don't feel
gross.
guilty either.
As you shouldn't. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that's really the big thing in this chapter, like guilt and understanding.
Do you want to talk about money?
Yeah, we can talk about money and understanding the power of the distortions that we place on reality itself. That we are the ones who are creating those distortions, and the compensatory reaction from reality is on its way when we distort reality. Okay. So let's
And it's energetic. So let me add to that, the thoughts. Your thoughts alone are putting out a frequency. Like, you are, in the terms of transurfing, you're highlighting a sector of the alternative space, and you're creating reality from that. And you don't get what you want if you're making it so important one way or another.
100%. All right. So money.
Okay. Yeah. Money.
So money, what he says, and yeah, I'm still working on this one because it's complicated, you know. I think a lot about the people who run the money system, you know what I mean? And it's like, well, that shit. It's easy to make money when you own the system. But anyway, what he says about money,
Literally.
and this is 100%. And this is something that is really important because you see this all the time. People do this all the time. They start to chase money and they're like, well, I will do my dream once I have a big bag full of money. Then I'll be able to skydive. I'll be able to go to Argentina. I'll be able to take a cruise or whatever. And so they work and work and work and work and work and work and work to chase their dream or to chase money in order to do their dream. But Vadim says that's backwards. That's the opposite of what you should do. You should pursue your goal, which we're going to talk in depth about your goal, finding your goal, you know, etc. But what you really should do is pursue your goal, and money will come as a byproduct of that pursuit. And
so don't make it the pursuit of money, make it the pursuit of your dream.
Your dream. Yeah, your dream, your goal, your purpose, whatever that is. And that sounds simplistic. It sounds very simplistic, but he says that money will come as a byproduct. One of the things to avoid is feeling guilty when you spend money, once again with guilt, because it's necessary to spend money in order to pursue your goal. You have to. I have to have a microphone to do a podcast. That's part of it, right? Like that. I'm not going to be able to do a podcast if I feel guilty about
sound quality.
Right. If I feel guilty about having a microphone, watch it fucking break, dude. Watch it get repoed, you know, or some shit. I don't know. Some weird thing will happen. But that's the main thing. And he keeps it pretty simple.
Because it's energetic too. It's currency. It's a flow. And, you know, you just got to remember that they print more money every day. It passes through, like it's supposed to flow. You're not supposed to hoard it all up. Like you are supposed to pay. And so the energetic exchange here, the way to get rid of excess potential a lot of the time is to, when you pay a bill, be thankful you just paid the bill. Like, even though that's not how you wanted to spend the money. I mean, like, hey, I'm happy my power bill's paid. Yeah. Thankful, you know, and you get rid of some of that the balancing forces by allowing it to just flow. You're not blocking money and the money flow to you by feeling good about letting it leave you too. So it comes in easy and it goes out, and that's 100%. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we create our own rituals too. And so I'll just give an example from my own life. This past Sunday, I had a comedy show that I produced on Super Bowl Sunday. Yeah. Nobody came. Note to everybody, don't produce a comedy show on Super Bowl Sunday, especially if it's also a flash flood. And from what I hear, it was a banger, like one of the best games ever. So that's the triple threat right there. I didn't
watch either.
Yeah, well, good. I'm happy. Well, in my mind, I'm like, well, maybe some people just don't care about the Super Bowl. The thing about the Super Bowl is, even if you don't care about it, then you still get dragged to somebody's party. People are having a house thing. There's this, there's that. There's just so much that's going on. It's basically like a national holiday. And so we didn't know. Like, I had a lot of people actually look at the event. Like, I ran an ad and all that stuff and like had people like land on the page. Nobody really was buying tickets. But usually it means like if I have a bunch of people looking at the event, then they're going to come and usually buy tickets at the door. Well, we sold 8 tickets. But
hey, that's better than 0.
Hey, it's way better. There's way better than 0. A few people came. They actually had a great time. We had a good time. The comics were great. They were wonderful. Everybody had a good attitude about it. At the end, you know, I just I paid everybody, you know, a little bit more than I would, because I usually do percentages, and then I tip the bartender. To me, this is a ritual to be like, all right, well, I'm going to make sure that I pay everybody. I'm going to double everything down, you know, and just have an act of good faith on this, learn my lesson that not to have a show on Super Bowl Sunday. Like the last 4 shows that I had were sold out. And then, this is going to happen from time to time. There are, once again, ebbs and flows. He even says in this chapter, you can't just ride the wave of fortune all the time forever. Like, you're going to have ups and some downs come or whatever. But if you learn to appreciate and, and find your own, back to your credo, find your own rituals, your own ways to put that positive energy out for the silver lining, to just basically pay homage to the gods or the muse or whatever, however you see it in your way, then you can slide right through that. And then the next, and then just get right back on it, as opposed to unraveling. Like, the other way to do that would have been like, oh man, nobody came, this show's a flop. Like, you go to the manager and you just like come undone. You get mad at the bartender. It's not their fault, but like, you could completely unravel and go into like the induced transition. Or, you can just be like, hey, like, this is what happened. Yeah, not what we wanted. We didn't know. We learned our lesson. And
but hey, I had a really good set.
Had a great set. All the comedians were great. Really appreciate it. I got to network with some comedians from New Orleans, so I have friends there now. When I go through, I'm going to say what's up. I get on their show, whatever. So overall, it's a win. See the positive in it. But it's just creating your own sort of ways to handle and deal with all the ebbs and flows in this balance idea, because it is going to happen. Like, it'll go up and down a little bit. That's okay. Allow it to be that. Find the silver linings. Don't be delusional about it, but accept things for what they are, and then find a way to put yourself on that trajectory toward positivity from that point forward, right? Like, that's
one other thing that he says too that I think is really important, because we talked about renting yourself out last week, is that renting yourself out, you're doing something that you don't really want to be doing, but you're doing it anyway, and you're kind of pretending, you're LARPing. But he said that when you rent yourself out, do it impeccably. And impeccability doesn't mean without sin. It means like you're doing it, like, be the role that you're playing at the moment. Like do a good job.
Yep.
And somehow that relates to balancing forces. I think that way, instead of like bitching about it and inducing a transition and balancing forces, you're actually like allowing yourself to keep moving up.
Well, and the money thing too. I think that was my point, and I just kind of got lost on it.
Sorry.
But like the money, no, that's okay. That was my fault. I was riffing and I got lost. But no, what I was really trying to say is like, it's that spending the money, right? Like, you could be like feeling like, oh shit, we only made $60 or whatever. It's like, well, we only made $60. I'm just gonna pay everybody, well, and feel good about that, so that I'm taking care of people. Now I'm sort of solidifying and emphasizing that my relationship to them is important, that I value that more than money. And I guarantee you, the next shows
that will pay it forward.
Yeah, 100%. Instead of me being a miser and being like, well, we only made $60, so here's $20, buddy, or like whatever, and it's like, ugh. But no, like, go the extra mile. The bartender didn't do great, so I'm like, here's a few bucks. It wasn't much, It's like, I want the bartender to do well. I want everybody, when we have a show like that, I'm the producer of the show. Ultimately it comes down to me, and so I book the talent. I'm promoting the event. I'm running the ads. I'm doing the tickets, all that shit. So I want to invest positively in that particular pendulum, I guess is what it is, and keep that thing moving. So whatever that is. So by not feeling guilty, by feeling, positive and doing those things. And I mean, you could be probably a miser too and not feel guilty. If you don't feel guilty, right? As long as you don't feel guilty, then probably nothing bad comes back on you. But however you feel like you need to handle that situation, you stay true to that, and then do whatever your ritual is to continue that process and that progress within whatever it is that you're working toward.
And Jen in the chat says she doesn't walk by a penny without picking it up. And that's something I got from this book. I do that as well. Doesn't matter if it's in a mud puddle. I don't care if it has a piece of gum on it. I'm going to grab it and I'm going to put it in my pocket and I'm going to tell my world, thank you for taking care of me. Because Like, I make a game of it.
Well, yeah, and
I think it's
again,
fun.
back to your credo, like there's other ways that people look at that too, that is contrary to that. But I do that too. If I see money on the ground, I'm like, oh, money comes to me, and so.
Mhm.
But some people just don't even fuck with change. They're like, oh, I'm too good for change, and that's their attitude. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Whatever works for you, whatever works for you. It's really about not having contempt and having appreciation and gratitude for whatever the circumstances are, and then also seeing it in context, focusing on the thing that matters the most, and the money comes as a byproduct. You hear this a lot in entrepreneur groups. They say the more people you serve, the more money you make. The more problems you solve, the more money you make. And it's really the focus, right? Like the focus is not money. The focus is solving problems, helping people, doing something that's providing value to the marketplace. And the more that we focus on that, and of course, you got to ask for money, right? You got to be like, well, my service, I focus very hard on the service. I do a very, very good job, a premium job. And that's why, I have a premium price. And, and that's fine. That comes by itself. But like taking this as an idea of retirement, I don't think either one of my parents will ever retire. They just both enjoy working. I like working myself. The idea of retirement is, oh, well, let's set up a nest egg. And then by the time we're 65, we can do all the things we always wanted to do. Well, the thing about that is by the time you're 65, I don't think you're physically, you're physically limited. There's not as many things that you can do. So you're basically saving up, money for later to
And you
do all
might
the
not
things that
make
you
it
want
that
to do.
long.
You might
Let's
not
just
make it
face it.
you might not make it to 62. You might not make it till tomorrow. Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't have any guarantees. And it doesn't mean throw caution to the wind and just be like, oh, well, I'm just going to go to Costa Rica but I mean, then again, it's up to you. But yeah,
Yeah.
focusing on
It's
whatever
your
those
life.
things are, right? Like, so an example I might give. So let's say that your dream or your goal is to travel around the world. This is something that I had to do. I had to be very resourceful. I didn't have any money. When I was in college, I was pretty broke. I was dating a girl who her family was very well to do, and she would go to Peru and she would go to Chile. Her sister was living overseas and she'd go on all these cool vacations and shit. And I was like, that is so dope. I wish I could do that, but I'll never be able to. And then one day in college, this lady came and talked about her internship in Costa Rica at Outward Bound Rainforest School. And I was already working at an outdoor adventure center. And so I found out that I could apply for an internship down there. And that's what I did. At the time, I took out a school loan. It was my last semester of school to kind of help me get down there. And they paid me nothing. But I took an internship to learn that particular skill. And that got me to Costa Rica. And then while I was in Costa Rica, someone invited me to go to Peru, paid my ticket to go to Peru. I wound up being able to go to Peru. So by taking that first one, I was able to go to the next one. And then when I got back to the States, I went to West Virginia and worked as a raft guide there. Didn't make a whole lot of money, but I really enjoyed it. It was something I was super passionate about and still love to this day. But look for an internship. Look for, like, if you want to learn to sail, like find someone who teaches it and ask them if you can assist them. If you want to travel the world, learn, cook in on somebody's boat as they go across, the river, across the
Ocean?
yeah, thank you. Words. But yeah, like there's inventive ways to pursue your dream, even if you don't have a lot of money. There's lots and lots of ways. I mean, honestly, if I would go back in time, I would not have gone to college. Probably I did. I wound up going to college and I finished and all that. But it's like now there's YouTube. It's really good. Like you can kind of learn whatever you want to pretty much for free. Like you can take Harvard classes online now for free. You can take
Yeah, it's
Hillsdale.
wild.
You can take Hillsdale stuff, which is premier, like so good. You can learn Euclidean geometry online for free off of Hillsdale's website. It's insane. This is the stuff that like people died for in ancient Greece. Anyway, I'll tone it down, but I'm just
You're
saying, like,
passionate.
yeah, well, it's the money thing because people, it's always the excuse, and I totally get it. Like, I'm about to go on tour, my first comedy tour. I'm not real sure how it's gonna. We'll see. I think it'll be awesome. I'm stoked. I've
How
already got a few
exciting.
places booked and stuff, but I don't have all the details completely worked out. You know, I'm probably gonna have to ask for a favor or two along the way. But I mean, I
Well,
like,
you got the intention, so it's gonna happen.
yeah, I mean, I like
It's happening.
camping. I enjoy, and I've got friends in certain places too, and I'll be excited and happy to see them. And I also have a backup plan, so there's not too much importance placed on anything, you know. But I'll be like, hey, I'm coming. What do you recommend? What should I do? You know, whatever. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of doing it. I'm doing it and booking it myself. It's not. I don't have a booking agent. I don't have a tour manager, any of that. I do have a friend who is a tour manager who's advising me, which is awesome. It's incredibly invaluable. I will eventually come to Arizona. I've been there before. I'm going to Louisville, Nashville, Florida, New Orleans, and then Texas, and then back. So that's my tour for this time. And then I'll probably be going up the East Coast in the summer with a friend of mine as well. So, I mean, like in the comedy world, we do mostly everything ourselves anyway. So you have to kind of be a self-starter. In a lot of the work that I've been doing, producing shows and taking care of people coming through will pay, you know, will pay off. It's like, to a lot of people, this might sound cheesy. I don't care. But it's like, I figured out about a year and a half ago one way that I could serve the muse of comedy. And I know that if I serve the muse of comedy, then that will have a return on investment in time. Right. And so I've been doing that for a little while. So yeah, so just inventive ways to think about pursuing what it is that you're passionate about, even if you don't have a lot of money. Like, yeah, we all need money, 100%, but think outside the box. Think critically. Think about other ways that you can do the thing that you want to do. And sometimes you do the thing you wanted to do and get paid for it. Like, that's fucking cool. And you can totally just jump right into to your dream and already start getting paid for whatever that is. Anyway.
Bet.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Oh my God. All right. I'm rambling, I feel. Cool. So yeah, so I'll eventually get back to Arizona. I've got some friends out there in Scottsdale, Phoenix area. And I've been to California a bunch, but this is the first time I've ever done, you know, like a tour.
Well, I just hope you come up Route 66 and stop in and see me.
Well, maybe I will. I don't know. I haven't checked into Oklahoma yet. I'm going to. So my destination is Grimerica's eclipse thing. So I'm going to their eclipse thing. That's in Utopia, Texas. That's near San Antonio. But
Okay, yeah, it's the other side of the state.
it's kind of south. It's kind of south from you. But I might make it up to Dallas. I'm still working on some of the details. As far as like where I'm going to stop and when. And I don't care. I mean, I might even, like, if I don't get booked somewhere, I might just stop and just do an open mic somewhere. Yeah, it's fine. But I'm trying to find as many people who are bookers. The eclipse is April 6th or 7th. It's the full solar eclipse. Hang on, I'll look that up.
That they're already predicting major cloud coverage for. Like, how often do they
really?
predict cloud? Yeah. Like, they're saying it's going to be record cloud coverage, and it's like, how did they know all the way in April? Is that not
Well,
weird?
maybe because they're spraying.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Perhaps.
Yeah, it is. So the eclipse is actually on April 8th. So the eclipse at the canyon. Here, I'll share my screen. Let's see. I'll show you guys this Eventbrite link. So eclipse at the canyon. This is Grimerica's thing in Utopia, Texas, of all places, very close to San Antonio. and it is kind of like they got some bands and stuff, live presentations. They've got some awesome speakers and people. I'm just going as a guest. They didn't ask me to perform or anything. I did that last year a couple times, the year before that as well for them. But I was like, I want to go to this. And then, Darren was like, hey, we'll come on out. So I'm going to go, and along the way, hit some places and do some comedy and stuff. But it's in kind of like a camping. It's kind of a rustic kind of vibe. So they basically rented like a state park type of place, but it should be really fun. I'm looking forward to it. I'm using it as an excuse to book a tour. I'm doing the World Series of Comedy the week before in Louisville. And yeah, let's do a cannonball run. Let's just get like 20 people to just descend upon all the places. It'd be so fun.
Utopia.
Yeah. And all the way through. I'm going to go with my friend Laura, who I actually met at their first event, and she lives here in Atlanta. And so she came out with some other people from Atlanta, and we all made friends, and she's got some of those tuning forks like Chance has. So we're going to be riding out with some tuning forks and stirring up some trouble. But I've got a couple dates already booked in Florida, and so I'm just confirming all the dates and stuff. But it'll be probably about a few days out and a few days back. I'll probably be gone for about 10, 12 days. And then I'm doing Louisville and Nashville just before that, the World Series of Comedy, and then some stuff in Nashville. So I'm starting to get out there, do more comedy stuff, which is fun. And that's what you got to do. You just got to dive right in and just start doing it. People don't make money in comedy usually until much, much later in their careers. It's a tough industry. Nobody's really in it for the money. Few people are in it for the money. I'll just say that. Even the people that I know who are very, very good and have I've got a friend, my friend Karen Morgan, and she's huge, but she gets it. She's like, nobody's in this for the money. She came and did a free workshop for us here just because she's from Athens and loves what we're doing, which is awesome. Yeah. So anyway, like I said, I'm blathering now, and I'm starting to feel self-conscious about it, but I'm excited about the whole thing. And yeah, like I said, my first tour. So yeah, if you guys are in,
audience wants to hear about it. So
yeah,
okay.
Well, I need to promote it and stuff, but I'm still working the logistics and details out. But I'm either going to hit Houston, Dallas, Austin. I'm definitely going to hit Austin, for sure, just because like Tiff lives there and I got to see her, and it's her birthday week. So I think I'll be there on her birthday. Anyway, it's going to be a lot of fun. And the Eclipse thing, the Grimerica guys are so cool. They're so fun to hang out with, and that'll be a really fun and kind of a different type of event. Like the ones that I've done with them before have been a little bit more intimate. We're in like an Airbnb thing. This seems like more of a party. Those have been sort of like more presentation-y and stuff. I do stand up for them, but I also talk about this kind of stuff and draw diagrams on paper and stuff.
Whiteboards.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. The flip charts.
Like a real teacher.
I don't know. You might with stick figures. But yeah,
you do good illustrations.
I mean, I'm a visual person, so it makes sense to me. I can draw, even if it's, not aesthetically beautiful.
Even if it's very 5th grade, it's okay.
Yeah, it still gets the point across. That's what matters, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited. Y'all are great. Is there anything else we need to touch on? Should we go over some of any of the other things in here? I read this chapter 3 freaking times.
I don't know. I'm sure it'll come up if in the future episodes if we did miss anything. So
I mean, this is a big chapter. There's a lot to unpack. This chapter itself is 2 hours long.
Yeah, it's worth reading a few times. I've read it several times, but I feel like I need to read it a couple more times so it really sinks in again, because I feel like it's been too long since I've absorbed all this information. So it's learning to reapply it. relearning to apply it. Maybe.
That's the thing, you know, it's like I see some of the, like, I've been chopping out some of the older videos that I've done, and I'm like, wow, I actually did a pretty good job explaining these concepts. I wasn't living them yet, you know, because it just takes time to like embed these principles into you. It just takes time to, and you see yourself transform. It's really cool. It's really cool to watch yourself change, and also kind of scary.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, I was kind of coming to grips with that, where I was like, oh my God, like I watched myself on tape and I was like, oh wow, like becoming a comedian is a transformation. It's not just, you just don't one day be like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna do comedy. Well, that's not how that works, you know. Like it's like anything else, you know, mastering any skill. If you're going to become a painter or an entrepreneur or a bodybuilder, then you have to literally change yourself. Now your observer is the same, but you watch the avatar change. It's intense.
It is intense. It's wild.
Yep. But it's cool.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Check out the book, read the book. I also have the summary. I'll promote that too. Summary.
Because the book is gigantic. So if you want a condensed version that is equally valuable,
This one's mine.
Owen wrote a nice little summary, and it's available on many platforms.
It is. It's available on the website as well. Yeah, and I have marked this thing up, dude. Like I have pages falling out of this. Like I have different notes from different, and you know, Gina Locke told me, she was like, you should do a different highlighter every time you go through the book, and then date your notes. And I've been doing that.
Oh,
it's crazy.
Smart.
Different things stick out at different times. Like this, yeah, it doesn't get old, and it folds into anything that you're learning. Like the principles in this book fold into any other type of book, whatever it is that you're trying to learn, it will help you. Yeah. And yeah, I hope I wasn't too like dark at the onset of this episode.
Are you allowed to be? I balance you out.
That's perfect. I needed that, you know, because I am an idealist. And so this was kind of a gut punch for me, like this chapter, but it was exactly what I needed to hear, because it's not that woo-woo fairy, oh, just dream on the couch and you'll have everything you want bullshit, you know. That's trash. So awesome. That's great, Virginia. Halfway through the summary, and the summary is fucking kind of long. The summary is like 3.5 hours, I think, or something. But it's not 25.
Yeah, if you can do 25 down to 3, that's really, I mean,
yeah,
that's nothing.
And if you get the one with a new narrator, it's even longer, because he talks like, and we go pendulums. You know, it's not the right guy. It's weird. Anyway, I don't say that because I am the right guy, but man, it's just fucking funny.
we all know, okay?
I mean, I worked really hard because because people need this information, and I needed this information. You know, I did it for me just as much as anybody else. Like we said earlier, it's like in our own world, we are the main character for each and every one of us. Everyone's, and we'll get to talk about this more too, but everyone's mostly primarily concerned with themselves. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not a bad thing, right? That's not, you shouldn't feel guilty because you're primarily concerned with yourself, because you can't get, you're not escaping this meat suit. All right. I appreciate you guys out there on the chat. Love you, Abbie. You're the best.
Thank you for hanging out.
Thanks, everybody. Everyone. This is so much fun. We will do another chapter and get into more of this stuff. Thank you so much. Yeah. I always knew I had the voice of a goddess, for sure. Thank you so much. Have a great night. We'll see y'all next time. Peace.